welcome to the Philly Factor. Well, we're coming to you sort of in a different way, in a different format than you may be familiar with our program. But that's the new reality that we're all confronted with these days as we continue what has been a long journey, months and months and months of a very long journey. And we are sort of juggling home life, career, having fun, not having fun, but here we are. And that brings us back into production. We lost a little bit of time in the early months of the pandemic, but at least for now, we will go back into some type of production of the Philly Factor. And I'm happy to say that we kick off this new season in this new reality that we're in with my very good friend, Sharla Feldscher. Sharla and I have known each other for years, but that's because, well, we were both 10, Sharla, I think, when we both started in this business. Sharla, for those of you that may know Sharla or may not know Sharla, she is one of the premier leading public relations professionals, not only here in the greater Philadelphia area, but across the country. And, you know, surprisingly, when I wanted to do this show originally, it would have been last year in 2020, which would have marked probably an anniversary for us because back in 1980, I think, is when I first met you with the opening of Sesame Place. That goes to show you, you were 10 when you started, and I was shortly, you know, around the same age.
And not to correct you, but I was at that opening as a press person, but not because I was associated with the park yet. That wasn't until 1984.
1984.
But I bumped into you that day.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, Sharla, as I said, is a leading public relations professional, not only here in our area, but across the country. And one of the things that I love about Sharla is that you can always depend on her, regardless of what it is that you need for a public relations expert, a story idea, or whatever. And that got me thinking in this new reality that we're in right now, what better way than to sort of discuss ways to keep our families engaged in what has been very challenging times. And Sharla has written a book, KIDFUN, 401 Easy Ideas for Play. As you can see, she's holding her book there. She's in her KIDFUN studio. Now, who else has a KIDFUN studio, I ask you?
It's actually a dining room.
It is. But I love the backdrop. The backdrop is amazing. So you started out as an educator. Before you got into public relations, you actually started as a kindergarten teacher?
I was a kindergarten teacher for 4 years at the Henry Lawton Elementary School in Northeast Philadelphia. It was near the Tacony-Palmyra Bridge. And I totally loved it. And the interesting thing is I taught in a very old building and we didn't have up-to-date equipment. We had to be creative and come up with our own ideas for teaching kids. And to me, when you teach kids, it had to be in a fun way. So sure. I think it was a benefit for me because I had to be creative.
And even more so today, I mean, given the fact that you wrote this book many, many years ago and tried to engage, you know, kids and parents and guardians in the process, boy, do we really need it more now than ever. I mean, originally when we got into this new reality, they were telling us, oh, you know, everybody will quarantine for 2 weeks and then it'll be back to normal. And then 2 weeks quickly became 2 months, became 4 months, became 6 months. And here we are almost looking at a year now of not only, you know, remote working, remote education, but we have found ourselves with our kids at home learning and juggling. And for parents, sort of frustrated at times, how do I keep my children engaged in the process?
Right. So this is actually my 8th book. Wow. And yeah, I was excited. It was exciting that HarperCollins published 2 of my KIDFUN books. But I've been writing the same thing for 40 years and it still works. And when I started writing KIDFUN ideas, there was no such thing as electronics. There wasn't even a computer. I had to type the book. I had to actually erase my mistakes instead of delete them. And actually, the books that I write are really updates from prior years. Like, it's funny because the word typewriter was in my material. Tape recorder is an old-fashioned word that's not here anymore. Cell phones were definitely not in the book. But my activities use stuff that everybody has right at home. Paper plates, all kinds of stuff. I have things on my table so I can demonstrate.
Sure.
And today, more than ever, just like you said, families need creative ideas for fun that are not electronic, that are just using the things all around you. What could be better than a balloon for fun with the kids when you all need a break? And I think that a lot of parents might be over it. They've had enough of this time with their children. And these ideas are really ideas that kids can do on their own. I like to say we throw the switch to creative thinking, and then the stuff all around you is really great for fun activities.
Yeah, and what's amazing, some of the things that you showed us there on the table, is that these are things that you have already in the house. I mean, you don't have to run to the store and buy some elaborate board game, and there's nothing wrong with that. But how fast do kids get tired with playing board games? But these are items in the house that may be stuffed in a drawer, maybe in a closet, and we often overlook them and say, well, what could I do with a balloon, or what could I do with construction paper, or what could I do with a box of crayons? But you have managed to take.
But those things are logical. Crayons, what you do. But a paper plate, you're not too sure with. Or these are stickers that are alphabet letters. I'm not sure if you see that. They're alphabet letters. Kids love to put their names all over things. So they can take the stickers and put their names on it. But I also bought this holiday season for my granddaughters a stamp pad. So they can stamp their name all over. And they just love that. You'd love to see your name in print.
Sure.
So I'm, maybe we can go over some things today. But it's fascinating to me how this has evolved, and that now in the pandemic, people really do need these ideas.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, and you talked a little bit about the evolution of these ideas from when you first started to where we are today. And everybody is, regardless of where we are, what we're doing, everybody's got their hand down, looking at their phone all of the time. But really, to engage kids in the process, they need to put the phones down, put the devices down, and mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, brothers and sisters, we all need to come together in some good, wholesome family fun that isn't going to break the bank. So how did you come up with these ideas? I mean, some of it seems to be like no-brainer stuff. Sharla's going through the kitchen drawer, and you come across a notepad and a stamp, and there you have an idea. So how did you come across, I mean, we're talking 401 easy ideas. I'm sure you didn't sit up at one night and come up with all 401 easy ideas.
No, and I'm telling you, they've just been developed over the years, but everybody does them. Do you ever take a paper cup and maybe a ping pong ball and you play catch with it? Easy, that kind of stuff. In the kitchen drawer, but I'll tell you how it developed. In the kitchen drawer, you might have two wooden spoons that are big. Well, they're great drumsticks, and pots and pans are great drums. If you're in the mood, if you can handle that.
Right.
When I taught, and as I mentioned, it was an old building, I remember one of the parents said to me, what can I do on vacation with my kids? Well, one of the things I had done, the gym in our building was more like a storage room with lots of benches and chairs. And I took a bench and I said, this is our bridge. And it's taking us on a bridge to adventure. Before we got there, when we were in the class, we talked about, where do you want to go? Wouldn't that be a fun discussion for everybody to have? We're going to take a vacation. It's like, oh my God, what's a vacation? But a lot of people are saying in 2022, when I take a vacation, but you can pretend with the kids. So what I used to do is they wanted to go to Disneyland or Disney World or wherever. We went across the bridge, we jumped off it. And let's say I had a chair, that was a rocket ship, and they went up on the rocket ship and they blasted off. Or I took a rope and I put it in a circle, and that was a pond. And they either went fishing or they pretended to be ducks in a pond. It's just using your imagination, that there's so much to do. So when this mother asked me, what can I do on vacation with my kids? I realized everything in my classroom could be converted to the home. I mean, even bathtub games. You know, I just started thinking about what happens in a typical day with a child? Car rides, rainy days, snowy days. You know what's great for snowy days?
What's that?
Take food color. I buy food color at the dollar store.
Okay.
All this stuff here came from the dollar store, not the stamp, but so food color in the food market it's $4. In the dollar store it's $1.
Sure.
And I gave them plastic bowls in the snow, big spatulas, big spoons, and they went outside and cooked in the snow. Or they made drips of food color all around and made a path in the snow. It's really fun. Or take plastic cups and fill that with snow, bring it in and do experiments with food color with snow in the house. So besides just playing in the snow, when they get tired of the typical stuff, you can add ideas.
That's fantastic.
I have letters here, right? ABC.
Right.
So to teach my kids letters when I was a teacher, I would hide them in the classroom. I would go on a treasure hunt. I would all look for capital A, or we'd look for, can you make the alphabet? So you can do that. Kids can do that in the living room. Parents don't even have to be involved. If you have those magnetic letters, they can hide them for each other and go on treasure hunts. So it's really just starting to think creatively.
Sure.
It's really, and people are creative, but it's kind of taking a deep breath. I used to say, you're in the car, there's traffic, you've had it, the kids are fighting in the back seat. Okay, count to 10 and say, let's play a game. And actually, Paul, I could do a game with you. It's really easy. And I don't care how old you are. And a kid taught me this.
Okay.
It's 21. And we're going to count together to the number 21. But there's a rule.
You're assuming that I can count to 21. Only kidding.
I am. I know you well enough to know you can.
Thank you. Thank you.
So there's one rule. You can use one number or two numbers. You want to make me get stuck on 21. I want to make you get stuck on 21. Okay. Ready? Okay.
Sure.
1, 2.
3, 4.
5.
6.
7, 8.
9.
You're thinking, you're processing it. 10, 11.
12, 13.
14, 15.
16.
17, 18.
19, 20.
21.
There you go.
And I play it with my granddaughters, and they are 7, 10, and 13. But even when they were younger, we calculate. If you get to the number 17, the other person's going to lose. I knew. I kind of set it up. I wanted you to win.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I never win in anything, but I won at this game. I appreciate that. All right, so you have a paper plate in front of you. Now, what could you possibly do with a paper plate? You're going to balance it on your head. I wish I had a paper plate here that I could balance on my head too.
I wish you did too. No hands. And I could set a kitchen timer, and everybody walks around the room with a paper plate on their head, and they see who can last the longest. Or you can do it like this, and then you can take giant steps when you have it. But don't touch it. You can't touch. Or you can take tiptoes, or you can jump. I think I have a picture of my granddaughter who put a balloon on her head, and she was she had a paper plate on her head, and she was balancing a balloon on her hand and kicking her foot out and doing all kinds of things because I just had it sitting there.
Sure.
If the kids are really bored and you bring out a pillowcase or a plastic bag with a bunch of blown up balloons, you have converted the mood in the house.
Wow.
Balloons are the best.
So what has been the reaction from parents then who have picked up your book, or they have seen you and you've been on many, many interviews, not only here in the Philadelphia area, but across the country. They've picked up your book. They've tried your stuff. They've tried many of the interesting ideas in your book. So what has been the feedback from those parents that say, Sharla, you saved my family, or, I was just about ready to, jump out a window because, the kids have been home since March. They're tired of, just sitting there. And we came upon your book. We tried these things, and it's turned our family around.
Well, I've gotten a lot of comments just like that. What's interesting is teachers love the book because they feel really bad that kids have so much screen time. So they see it as a great relief. It's a refreshing change. It's get away from the screens. Kids are tired of computers. They're all day. That's what they do.
Yeah.
If you have a box of hats around and you put a hat on, the mood's going to change. And I had this for a long time, but I like to go to costume stores and just buy stuff and have it around.
Sure.
So this is a clown bow tie, and this clown wig, it totally changes their mood. And, you can really pick this stuff up and just have it around at the dollar store one day. I'd like to, for holiday season, I tell people to do a big bag of hats and called Hat Trick. But I also found this mask for $1. I mean, you can have a few of these masks around, pull it out when you're all ready to pull your hair out, kids too, and have a masquerade, have a hat party. Tiaras, and my kids would go to my scarf drawer, my granddaughters and their friends, and they would put on a fashion show. I had some big scarves that they wrapped around, and they were like dresses, other scarves they put on their head, they wore it around their neck, or turn on music when they have scarves and they can dance and wave the scarves. I don't know. I just collect these ideas.
And they're fantastic ideas.
And I love when people share them with me.
So has there ever been an idea that you tried and it didn't necessarily take on a life of its own? Or I hate to say the word flop, but you came up with an idea, you tried it out, and it was like, I need to retool this a little bit or figure this out a little bit better. It's not really meeting the expectations that I thought this idea would work for me.
So, you know what? That happens to everybody. And when I was a teacher, I would try things with the kids. Didn't always work. I would stop. What is the point in pushing it just because it was in my lesson plan? It's not working. So try something else. That's what happens when you're creative. A lot of things don't work, and then you learn what doesn't work, and maybe you revise it a little. Who cares?
When you set out to write the first book and write the subsequent books, how much time does that take for you? And I know you're a very, very busy person, but when you sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a new book or I'm going to revise an old book, how much time and effort goes into it for you? And I know you love what it is that you do, so I'm not sure that it's actually work to pour your heart and soul into revising a book or write a new book, but
the truth is, I wrote the first book when my daughter Amy was 2 years old.
Wow.
My daughter Amy is 49.
Wow. I don't know if she would appreciate you sharing her age. But
honestly, yeah, it really makes me realize how many years ago this was. And honestly, I update them. I switch them. I had once written a book that didn't work for grandparents only. And it was great because grandparents have this certain thing, once you have a grandchild, you could almost be in a club because you feel about that grandchild like you never felt about your own children. You just play with them. I'm doing a workshop on February 23rd for just grandparents. Things come to me. I used to do programs in schools, and the kids would teach me games. I have this great game. A child taught it to me. I call it kitchen pool. I wish I had the things here for it. You take a straw, a drinking straw, and you put a dry spaghetti noodle through it.
Okay.
And then you shoot it back and forth so it has some action on it, and put a Cheerio on the kitchen table. And you can shoot it across the table. And what I added to it, I take paper cups and I tape it to the side of the table. So it's the pocket. So you're playing pool right there on the kitchen table.
Right, right.
Yeah, I don't care how old you are. That's just fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And but so that came from other people. And just recently, I'm on channel 17 every month, and on their morning news. And
sure.
I was doing something about taking walks, and a family sent me a video that the kids wear costumes when they take a walk. How great is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, proving that you don't need just like the holiday of Halloween to wear a costume. You could play dress up anytime you want. If you want to go on a walk, if you want to just play dress up in the house, you got these things
like
around
they
the
have
house.
A Halloween parade in March.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really great. And another thing, when I was shopping at the dollar store, at the counter, they had all these pens, all different kinds of pens. I don't know. Can you see them?
Yeah,
and,
perfect.
Right. And I bought these $1 each and a pad of paper. So now you wrap up each of these pens, you wrap up the pad of paper, or you still have it around for the kids, just using a different pen, this shiny star with Elsa from, right? This is Elsa.
Frozen, yeah, yeah.
From Frozen. And it's something very simple for the kids to do. And another thing that's really fun is to make crazy animals. So I like it when kids aren't worried about what they're drawing, that it has to be perfect. So you can take, so can you see that triangle?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Okay. And then you can put eyeballs on it, but not eyeballs like we have eyeballs, 2 of them.
Right.
You can put 10 eyeballs on them anywhere you want because it's crazy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can put legs on it coming out of their head. It's crazy. So now everybody's being silly. You can do it with the kids. This is great for a restaurant when we go back to restaurants.
Sure.
And they can make up a name for this crazy animal that's not a real word, just like this. It could be an ebop, an opop, whatever they come up with. And everything is just fine. It's no right and no wrong. It's just fun.
Well, we have just a few minutes left, and the time flies when we are together here on the program. But, if parents find themselves sort of frustrated, not knowing which way to turn, where might they be able to find your books? How could they find out more information? They can go to their kitchen drawer and pull out some stuff and do it on their own. But where can they find your book, Sharla?
Thank you so much for asking. Well, it's on Amazon.
Okay.
You can go to my website to learn a lot more, and that is KIDFUNandmore.com. On Facebook, I'm always hoping that people will send me pictures of their kids at play. And at Facebook, it's KIDFUN and More. And or Google my name.
Yeah, and you'll find her. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Google KIDFUN. And it's on Instagram. So we're pretty much around.
You have seen firsthand in your arena of public relations how getting the message out has changed over these many years. I mean, you said you used to sit there at a typewriter and probably type up a press release. Today, it's an email or it's social media that's getting the information out. But the basic fundamental of all of that is communicating an idea, and whether it's by typewriter or by computer or by cell phone. Even some of the stuff, most of the stuff that we've talked about here, it's so important to just have an idea and then communicate it to whomever we're sending the message to.
Right. And give it a try. What do you have to lose?
Sure.
You know? So there's no such thing as doing it wrong. And if the kids get bored, that's just fine. That's a really important clue. Try something else or let them go off and create their own fun.
Yeah. And for
But
parents,
it's a great, I love it. I was on television one day and I think my granddaughter Sari was with me and I had to babysit that night. So we were just going to do whatever. And she said, I want to play KIDFUN. And you know what we did? We set up a badminton court in her living room by taking a string or a rope, tying it to two chairs, pulling the chairs apart. That's a net. Using a paper plate and a balloon which just fell and hitting it back and forth. Right there in the living room. You can't hurt anything.
for sure.
And you know what? These games might take 5 minutes and then they're bored, but then they get tired of it and then you try something else.
Well, then, yeah, and you got 400 other easy ways and ideas to come up with to play. If the first one they get bored with, there's 400 more in the book for them to explore. I want to thank you so much. We're out of time. We can go on for another half hour with all the great work that you do, Sharla. And again, thanks so much for agreeing to do this. Thanks so much for your books and for sharing some of these ideas. And hopefully it makes everyone a little more at peace with each other as we continue through this new reality. And God only knows how long that's going to last. But you've given us all something to hold on to and hope for with all your great ideas. So I want to thank you so much for your time.
Well, I love being with you, Paul. Thank you very much.
All right. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person, hopefully somewhere down the road. I miss seeing you in person. Yeah, okay. For sure. My guest has been Sharla Feldscher. Again, the name of the book is KIDFUN 401 Easy Ideas for Play. You can check out the books, many books by Sharla, online at Amazon.com. Until the next time, thanks so much for being with us here on The Philly Factor.
All this could paper or lasers and were spies in training going under and over the lasers. And I just teleported.
It's actually great exercise.
Yes, isn't it?